Charisma Quotient. I'm your host, Kim Seltzer, a dating and makeover expert, where I will help you build confidence, make connections, and find love from the outside in. There are so many reasons why many people I talk to claim they have little to no interest in dating. Now, the excuses range anywhere from the effort it takes to not knowing where to go or how to date in this modern world, especially if you are dating in the second act, as I always say. And then there are the excuses outside yourself, like, oh, well, there's just no good men out there, or the women suck, or I'm too old, or I've heard everything from like the town I live in sucks, blah, 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 blah. But you name it, I've heard it all before. So here's the thing, once you peel away the layers, and the reason usually comes down to the biggest one, and that is fear. Fear of dating and relationships can present on the surface as a fear of social situations. Sometimes it's the fear of flirting or even kissing if you haven't kissed another person in a very long time. And yes, even just the act of dating. So many people that I talk to, especially if you've been like a relationship person, you've never dated just for the sake of dating without getting attached. So that this whole modern day notion of dating up a storm just seems either wrong, overwhelming, or daunting. And it's often the reason you might say you're just happier being single, or your life is so full, there's no room for anyone else, especially a partner. But what's at the root of most of your hesitation is something deeper that is usually tied to past trauma, relationships, and experiences. It's important to really get to work on facing what's scaring you the most. It could be the fear of abandonment. It could be fear of rejection, failure, not being good enough. The list goes on and on. In fact, I do workshops on this. And it can be hard to put yourself out there, be scrutinized and judged by others, and the risk of getting hurt, especially if someone's hurt you before. It's not easy. And I get why some of you would want to avoid it, but the reward can far exceed the risk. And with all of you that I talk to, and those of you who are fearful and make excuses around not putting yourself out there, most of you still say to me, but I don't want to be alone. I want to find love again. But again, it just feels too scary and risky. So, with me on the line today is a beautiful woman who I had the pleasure of having just one conversation with. And I wanted her to come on this podcast because I think what she's dealing with, so many of you are. And she's had numerous failed relationship attempts. And even she tried to get back with her last ex-husband only to find herself worse off in an abusive situation. She has a strong desire to meet a man. She wants love in her life, but is scared that she will attract the same pattern. Her fear and mistrust has caused her to stop herself from putting herself out there. So I hope I can help break it down in some simple ways to get out there and start building her confidence to find love and fun again. Welcome, Diane. Are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
Hi, Diane. Thanks for coming on.
Hi, Kimmy. You're
Um,
welcome.
well, look, you were scared to come on this podcast and you got over the fear and you're here.
Yes, I'm here.
You already took the first step. And really, I mean, that's the point, is sometimes it's the unknown that's the most scary, especially because of what you've known hasn't been good. So I'm just
Exactly.
so happy that you came on here. So I mean, I said a little bit about you, but obviously I'd love for you to share more about you. So tell just the listeners like just who you are, and just your age bracket, and just what the challenges have been up until now.
Well, like you said, I've had some failed relationships and trauma. And just last October, I retired and moved to Arizona to live with my ex-husband. And that I could only stand it for 7 months. It just didn't work out. I had to get out. So now I'm in the middle of getting ready to move back to where I'm from. I'm 69, so I'm a lot older than some people, and but I would like to meet someone, and I think I'm ready, but I'm still nervous about it. So that's why I'm here.
Yeah. Yeah. And so let's talk about the point of being nervous. What are you most nervous about?
That I don't know that to pick out the wrong person again, because I've picked out the wrong people before, and not being ready, and working on my issues long enough.
Okay, got it. So you said that in the past you have not picked the right people. Like, has there been a pattern of men that you picked that you don't want to attract again?
Yes, that's right. My first husband was verbally abusive, and I didn't get married for quite a few years. I dated in between, didn't have good luck with dating. Um, and then I met my second husband, and he's the one. I've known him for like over 20 years, and we stayed friends, and we connected off and on over those 20 years, and talked on the phone pretty often. And so I moved in with him, but I need to back up a little bit. Uh,
Hmm.
I met someone online, a guy, and we one thing led to another, and I was still with my ex-husband before I moved to live with him.
Hmm.
And that turned out really bad because he was in a different state. We didn't even have time to date, really. He just moved up from California. And so, uh, yeah, so I made some mistakes, and I feel like I need to really be more cautious and take it slow. But also, I want to have fun again. I haven't had fun in a long time. I miss being in a relationship and with I want a good guy. I'm really looking for a good guy.
Yes. Oh, and you so deserve it. And I'm glad you're not giving up. I mean, the fact that you're even on this call means that you have that desire. But like you said, you just don't know how and you're scared. And thank you for sharing that, by the way, about, kind of the guys you've encountered. So I always say if you want to change your story, you always have to go back to the beginning and look at the script and what happens at the very first stages of meeting, these people. Can you tell me a little bit more about like when you first met some of these guys and like how does it usually start out?
Well, my first husband, we went to the same church, and we were on a bus going into Portland to some meetings.
Mhm.
And I met him there, and we started talking, and he made me laugh, and I liked that. And that was the
Mhm.
first feeling of attraction I had for him. And so we dated off and on for 2 years and then got married. I was really young. I was only 17.
Oh.
Yeah. So um, that's how I met him. But then after we lived together for not very long, we got married. He became verbally abusive and controlling.
Mm.
And I had 2 kids with him, but I stayed with him for 23 years because I didn't really have an education or a good job. So I stayed with him. Finally, I couldn't take it anymore. So I left. I moved out. And so my next husband I met through friends. So I thought he was safe.
Mhm.
And that's the one that I ended up moving back in with. And he became abusive too. So I
Mhm.
seem to pick guys that don't treat me very well. But they do have some good qualities at the beginning, but I don't know. You just have to be more careful and aware of what's going on.
Absolutely. Well, and who we attract is always a direct reflection sometimes of how we feel inside. And I wonder, Diane, like if you were to look at yourself and almost like rate yourself in kind of your self-esteem rating, so to speak. And well, especially when you're young. I mean, my gosh, you don't even know yourself. So I when you met your first guy, you were still like even getting to know yourself. But if 10 is like the biggest self-esteem that a person can have, one being like non-existent almost, where do you rate yourself?
Well, right now, I'd say maybe, 6,
Mhm.
7, as I do feel good about myself in some ways, like, I had a really good career, and I stuck with it for 18 years, and I've made good choices in the past with other things.
Mhm.
So, those things make me feel like, my self-esteem, I have good self-esteem with those things, but
Mhm.
I fall down on the relationship issue.
Right. And so if you were to rate your confidence with you and men, and especially not even now, but like back then when you met these guys, did you have like lower confidence back then?
Yes, I was so young, and I didn't, like you said, I didn't know what I wanted or
Mm.
really who I was yet. I was just a teenager. When I met my second husband, though, I was closer to I was about 40,
Mhm.
and he seemed nicer than my first husband, but after I lived with him for a little while, he became abusive, verbally abusive and controlling. And he didn't think women were equal because his
Mhm.
father didn't treat his mother equally. He thought she was beneath him. And so he treated me that way.
Mhm.
And I left him once, and then we got back together, and I left him again. And then this third time, is when I don't know why we were in different states, and I thought, well, he's older, he's reliable. I know him, I should be able to trust him. So um I moved in with him, and same old thing, only worse. He was older and he was worse.
Mhm.
So, and I'm stronger. I got pretty strong during the I was single for like 3 years,
Mhm.
and I bought a house, and I was running the household and made a lot of good decisions and hired people to help out, and so I felt really good about myself, and I was really strong. So when I moved back in with my second husband again, and he started treating me like I wasn't as valuable, it really made me upset,
Yeah.
and I just couldn't deal with it. That was unacceptable.
Absolutely.
And
No.
so that's where I'm at right now. I'm um just in between. I'm still in Arizona, but I'm in 1 month I'm moving back to my house and where I lived before in Vancouver, Washington.
Diane, I mean, I know we talked a little bit about this, but I didn't really get to dig deeper. Um, because I know you said you have a hard time like expressing your needs, your feelings.
Yeah.
Has it always been
Yeah,
that way?
yeah,
Even when Yeah.
it has been because um I'm a very empathetic person,
Mhm.
and I don't want to hurt people's feelings. So I don't say how sometimes if they upset me or make me mad, I don't say what I should,
Mhm.
because I don't want to hurt people's feelings. But in the long run, it's worse that I didn't say what I thought. I
Yes.
realize that now.
Yes. Well, this is really important, and I'm just gonna kinda peel away some layers here and then, like, make some connections for you so that, then kinda give you some action items that you can
Mhm.
help just get past some of this because it's just like a pattern, right? Like you said. And like when you were a kid, was there like, also kind of an environment where you had a hard time expressing your feelings and things that have happened?
Yes, I grew up in a very religious household, and my dad was really quiet, and I tried to talk to him in the when I was a teenager. When I was younger, he
Mhm.
never really knew how to communicate with me and my sister.
Mm.
So I kind of grew up like men were, you know, they were quiet, didn't say very much, and they were inaccessible because that's how my dad was.
Mhm.
So I think
Yes,
that's where it all began, probably.
exactly. And what about mom?
My mom was she was kind of the head of the household. She kind of took over. There were
Mhm.
5 kids in my family, and so she was really busy all the time. I was like the next to the youngest, in the family of 5, and by that time, I think she was so preoccupied with her life and the other kids, and I felt like I kinda got ignored, and I had a younger brother too. Have a younger brother who's 3 years younger, and he felt the same way. We kind of felt like we were on our own and kind of
Yeah.
raised ourselves. We became, we had to, um, survive. It was like a survival.
Mhm.
My parents were good people. They were very kind and loving, but I'm I don't know about loving, though. They didn't really wanna talk about things. They didn't communicate very well.
Bingo. Like that's really important what you just said. Do you see kind of the connection of your upbringing and like how you have been with men?
Yes, and I knew it was I kinda blamed it on my past husbands and relationships, but I never really connected it to go way back to
Mm.
my childhood. So, yeah, that makes sense. It makes a lot of sense.
Well, think about it, and I always say that it's not a blame game, right? Like it's never your parents grew up in a certain way and that's all they knew, right? And it's just like almost like the baton keeps getting passed on. But when you grow up in a home where feelings aren't expressed and that no attention was given to you and you kind of were like like you said, hey, you had to raise yourself and be on your own. You just never learned the language to speak your truth, to ask for what you wanted, to say what you need, to express your emotions. And it seems like you just kind of did you just kind of bottle it up and you just did things, right? Like you just had to kind of plow through things?
Right.
Mhm.
Yeah. I got married and waited a few years because I was so young when I got married the first time. I just went through the regular life changes and transitions. I had my son and when I was 26 and my daughter when I was 29
Mhm.
and raised them. So yeah, and then you get busy with your family and life and like I said, I didn't really have the means to support myself and my family, my kids. So I
Mhm.
stayed in an unhealthy relationship, but I finally got out of that and went into another one.
Yeah. Right. And, and again, it's like a broken record. You know how you said, "Well, hey, I thought the next one would be different, but it was like the same guy in a different costume." You think it's gonna be different, and yet somehow the pattern just keeps continuing. And, look, we all fall back to what we know and what we're familiar with, good, bad, or indifferent. It's
Yeah,
just something that's familiar. And I think with what you've been through, what happened is you learned very early on to just stay silent and survive. And
right,
so when men came along who seemed kind of gregarious and funny and like they could take care of you, it was like kryptonite for you. Like you were like, "Oh, here's my guy,
Yeah,
because it
this
was
is a way life's supposed to be.
yeah. Well, and in your experience, you never really saw what that kind of true affection and expression of a healthy kind of expression was of love. And so in your heart, in your mind, in your body, you felt like, well, these guys will take care of me and they're expressive. However, it was the kind of guy who ended up being controlling and,
Yes.
abusive and
Hmm.
the very opposite of what you wanted. And again, like you're gonna, Diane, and this relates to like where you are now with the fear.
Hmm.
Yes, you're gonna see these guys over and over and over again. It's like Groundhog Day, and it's gonna like you're gonna be like, "Oh my God, there's that guy again. How did he get here? Oh my God, you
Yeah, he's
again?"
back. Yeah.
Right? Yes, and I say it a little bit like tongue in cheek, only to like predict for you that you're gonna have this kind of propensity towards finding these guys, okay? And they're gonna find you
Yeah.
until, and this is where I want you to see your own power, until you start showing up for you, until you start having a voice and
Yes.
shining your light and demanding more for yourself. And this is why I asked you about like your self-worth and your self-esteem, because
Hmm.
I want you going out into the world like Queen Bee Diane, like
Yeah,
for
I'd
the
like
bomb.
to.
Yeah, and like listen to like even the lightness in your voice, when you're like, "Oh yeah, I want that," and I
It's
want you
about
to
time.
yes, yes. It's a matter of, well, how do I do that? Because you're just not used to it. No one gave you the tools. And so
Right.
that's what I want to kind of focus on with you today, because the only way that you're going to override this it's just a habit that you got into with these guys,
Yes. Hmm.
is to slow down and really speak your truth and learn how to be in your own queendom, so to speak, so that the guys come to you. Like you're the woman who should be sitting on the throne, and these guys need to deserve you. Like you're such a giver. You've been like giving, 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 giving your whole life. I feel like you need to get a little selfish, my dear. It's your
Okay, I will work on that.
turn. So you're like, "Yes, I'll work on that," but how? How?
Yeah,
I mean, that's
yeah,
where
you got to
yeah.
start somewhere, and I'm at the beginning. I've got a lot to learn.
Well, and that's just it is, in this is kind of my message in every workshop and every person that I work with, is that dating is a skill. And when you look at it as something to learn, where you are just focusing on little bit at a time, different things you can do, that's when the confidence grows. And that's when you start seeing like different guys and have different experiences. I mean, Diane, it sounds like you've never just dated just for
Well,
the sake of dating, like without getting a boyfriend or attached, like just dating up a storm. Have you?
yeah, I have in between husbands, but like I said, it wasn't very fulfilling, and I was on a dating site, so I have, but I was always worried they were gonna just want me for, to take me to bed and take advantage of me, and so yeah, it was a bad experience. I don't want those kind of experiences anymore.
Okay, so let's talk about that, and then I have some like ideas for you. So when you tried to date, first of all, what was your mindset? Were you going on these sites to see if you could find another guy in your life? Like, was it kind of goal oriented towards seeing if you could get a boyfriend or a long term relationship?
Yeah, it was.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Okay. So that's the first thing. And then what would happen when you did meet these guys? Like, what would happen on the first dates? Are you quiet? Do you kind of wait for them to talk to you? Do you flirt? Like, tell me more.
Yeah, I'm usually kind of quiet and let them take the lead. Um, so yeah, I haven't been very effective. I won't blame it all on those guys.
Hmm.
I haven't been very effective. I need to be stronger and say how I feel.
Yes, and do you flirt?
Yeah, I have. Yeah, I I dated quite a few guys, and some of them I had a relationship with for maybe 3 or 4 months, but it didn't last. But
Mhm.
they liked me. It's
Mhm.
just I think I was having some issues of my own. So
Mm.
yeah, I think that's what I want to work on, is just do better when I start dating again. But when I do date, I want to be lighter and not
Yes.
just look for a boyfriend. I want to look for a friend and somebody to do things with and laugh with and have fun with. And yes, flirt.
Oh my god, this is music to my ears.
I
I
know how to do that.
that's awesome because sometimes I'll talk to people and they don't even know what flirting means, and it's like
Oh, yeah.
non-existent. So it sounds like you enjoy it, you like it. It's just doing it in a safe way, in a
Yes,
fun way that allows you to really discern who's right and who's wrong.
right.
So that's kind of where okay. And it sounds like in the past, how are you meeting these guys mostly online?
Yeah, online. hmm
Uh-huh. And
Dating
then
site.
you don't like tell me about your social life.
Right now or in the past?
Both, both.
Well, in the past, when I was dating a lot, I lived in Eugene,
Uh-huh.
Oregon,
Uh-huh.
and I had a big group of friends, a really good best friend and her husband and their friends, and we went out and did things. We went out to the park for like concerts in the park, and we had a lot of fun. And then I that my ex-husband that I just got done with, I didn't meet online. He's the one I met through my friends. Those were the friends. So um, then we knew each other just for about a year. You know, I lived in Vancouver, Washington, and
Mhm.
he did too, but he was a trucker and he was gone a lot. So, but I didn't move up there until about a year later. So we didn't have time to really date.
Mhm.
And so, yeah. And then when I met him, we had a few friends, but not that many. But I had my job. I always had my job, my career.
Mhm.
So I didn't have, it was hard moving to Eugene. I lost my big crowd of friends, and I had some friends when I moved to Vancouver. And now I'm in the Phoenix area, and I don't have much of a social life, but I have 3 girlfriends now, and we do things together. We go to the mall and we go out for lunch and we go to the pool. So that's been my social life since, most of the time I've been here, because I don't have any family or relatives here, and
Mhm.
I'm not seeing my ex-husband,
Right.
that's done. So yeah, so I do have a social life, but no men right now, no
Well,
men at all.
yeah, and it sounds like when you go out with your friends, you're not really going on a manhunt.
No, I'm not. We're just going out to have girl time.
Oh, yes. Well, and girl time is lovely, don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
However, you're not gonna have kind of the men in your energy field when you're like just, cackling with your girlfriends at lunch, and
Right,
not being
exactly.
intentional. So, okay, well, this gives me some ideas and just like where you're at now. I mean, really, Diane, it sounds like not only going back to basics, you know how you said you want to just kind of start from ground zero and learn. I feel like this is an opportunity for you to discover a whole part of you that maybe you never even knew before.
Yeah, that's possible,
Y-
very possible. I
Yeah, I
and I
mean,
and I could bloom like a flower, maybe.
yeah, oh my God. Not just bloom like a flower, but I think you're going to explode into like a field of flowers because, I just don't feel like given your history, you ever really had an opportunity to know who you are.
Yeah, I think you're right. I haven't really known. Since I've moved to here to the Phoenix area, I'm learning more about myself. I think it's made me stronger
Yeah.
because I had the courage to leave and I recognized it. I saw right through it. As soon as I moved in, it started right away. I saw how abusive he was. So I think because of that, I'll recognize it. If I go
Yeah.
out with guys, I'm pretty sure I'm gonna see it right away.
You
I can't take being controlled. I become
Mhm.
really independent and that I just want to meet somebody where I can just be myself and say how I feel and they'll be fine with it and just
Mhm.
enjoy a relationship with that person. Maybe start with by friends as friends and then turn into a romantic relationship.
Yes. Yes. And that's why I said, and you're feeling it. You're feeling yourself getting stronger. You're feeling yourself kind of starting to detect some signs for yourself about these men. I think your overarching goal right now, and I would set a goal for the next 3 months. I like working in 3 month chunks
Yes.
because it makes it a little more doable. There are like measurable goals that you can work on within the 3 months, and then that'll build the confidence. And then you just reassess things in 3 months and then you move on. And in these 3 months, I think your mission is to really discover who you are, what you like, what you don't like. Who is Diane separate from the big family that she survived in? Who is Diane separate from these controlling men who dictated her life? Who is Diane separate from being a mom? Like, this is your turn to really look in the mirror.
Yeah.
And by doing that and discovering pieces of you, that will give you an indication of who's right for you, because as you get stronger and not rely on the man to make you who you are, you're going to have a better picker.
Yeah, that's so true. Yeah, that's what I
It's
need to do.
Yeah, and I heard the kinda the sigh in your chest area, like releasing that. I think you've been just not even being authentically you, but I don't even think you've given yourself a chance to discover who even you are. And so a couple things. So if you just stay focused on that and not worrying about getting a boyfriend, not worrying about who you're attracting and who's going to be a good boyfriend and who's going to be a bad husband, like it's too much. Like just get that out of your mindset right now. Your mission is to flirt and have fun with everyone and collect data. Period. End of story.
Yeah.
Right? And I would
Yeah.
even make a note for yourself that Diane is not allowed to get a boyfriend right now in 3 months. Like you're just not allowed to.
Yeah, it's not time yet.
It's no, I don't even want you dating a guy and getting sucked into the vortex of a relationship. Like I feel like you're really good at making guys feel good. It's time for you to feel good and
Yeah,
see who makes you feel good for a change.
yeah, I never thought of it that way, but yeah, I do make guys feel good. They like me, but I need to like myself more and treat myself
Yes.
better.
Yes. And see, I think you've been misperceiving that attention that you get from guys that you make feel really good as love.
Yeah,
But really, these guys are broken. They have a need to control to make themselves feel better. And you're such a target for it. Why? Because you don't really express how you feel and your needs, and they're fine with that. As long as the focus is on them and they can control you, they're fine with that. But the minute you start standing up to for yourself, that's when the anger starts.
yeah,
So, do you see? I want you to feel like you have control over this. Like they don't have control over you. You have control over you. You just have to do things differently in the very beginning stages with these guys.
and I
So,
don't need to have control over them either, just myself.
correct. Correct. Oh my God, Diane, I love that you said that because in some ways, by you making them feel real good, is a sense of like almost you controlling them because that's where your
Yeah.
confidence lives.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, you're right.
It's a weird thing because it's
It
not that
is.
you're like a controlling person. It's just you learned that you got good at that and you liked getting validated for helping people.
Yeah, that's true. You're right about it. Yeah.
So, okay, so just like a few action items. So that's kind of like your overall mission. And I would even just like write that down. Your mission is to flirt and have fun with everyone. You're not allowed to get a boyfriend in 3 months. And the other thing is, I just want you discovering who you are overall.
Yeah. I've got
Now,
some homework to do.
you got some homework to do. So then I want to give you like some ways of how to do that. Like, number one, I know I always harp on the clothes and how we dress and how we put ourselves out there. Like, just be mindful of like what makes Diane feel flirty, what makes Diane feel like fun and sexy. And you can do that with your clothes.
Yeah.
Like as you go out the door, you're not doing it for any guy that you're going out with. Like, what if you just went to the grocery store and something that made you feel that way, regardless of who's in the grocery store? And I'm sure you're going to have guys checking you out. That's going to be just like the fallout of that. But that's not your goal. Your goal is you're doing it for yourself.
To feel good about myself. Yeah.
Yes, put on a little makeup, just spruce yourself up and just I would do that almost as an exercise weekly. Like pick like even one day a week. Eventually you're going to probably do it every day because you're going to enjoy it. But at
Yeah,
least
it would be fun, huh?
yeah, yeah, but at least you can enjoy it. Now, with that, I want you paying attention to your body language. So as you're going out and about, just start waking up. Just start seeing men around you. Maybe make some eye contact, maybe smile, just start getting used to the male species again. Don't worry about if they're a good guy, bad guy. None of that really matters. This is again, the goal is about you, not them.
Yeah.
I just want you getting comfortable again because you're scared.
I
And
am scared. What I
yeah,
do see guys in the store sometimes, and instead of smiling or, I look away, and I don't want to be approached because I'm scared. So
right.
I'm shy. I really am shy.
Yes. No, and I know that. So I want to take the anxiety out of it because I think part of why you're shy is like you don't want to get into anything that's not safe for you anymore. So like
Yeah.
there might be a gentleman, he gives you some attention, and you're like, "Oh, no, 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 no." And you recoil. So if you know that there's no expectation of going on dates with any of these guys, I'm taking that off the table.
Yeah.
I just want you getting used to being seen. That's it.
I like that idea. Just the thought of just going out and having fun. I really like that idea.
Yes. Isn't that so much like
It's a relief.
better? It's a relief. Yeah. The other stuff is too scary. And I agree with you. It's never a good idea to just jump in the deep end. Like, let's just dip your toe in the shallow water and get used to the waters again. That's it.
I don't have to tell him my life story on the first date.
No. And you don't have to like get married in your head and figure out what he's going to be like as a husband. Like, oh my God, get that out
Yeah.
of your head. Just by
Yeah.
seeing somebody at the grocery store. I don't want you doing that. Now the other thing that I think would be really valuable, let's start with what you already have. I know that you're kind of back and forth with your living situation, but with these three women friends,
Yeah.
go out with them now in a setting where men are and be intentional. Okay.
Okay.
Like if you're going to lunch, men are out having lunch too,
Yes.
by the way, but
Yes.
don't just sit in a table and in the corner and, be kind of reclusive with your
Yeah.
friends. Sit at the
Hi.
bar. Sit at like a nice like lounge bar and eat
Mhm.
lunch together at the bar so that maybe a gentleman or two can sit next to you.
Yeah. You mean with my girlfriends, have them sit at the
Yeah.
bar too?
Yes, absolutely. It's a little easier when you're with maybe like one person. Sometimes it's kind of odd when you have like three because it's hard to talk to each other
Yeah.
that way.
I usually go out with one the first friend I met, and her friend and her sister. So there's four of us.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
It's a little overwhelming.
Yeah. And then guys have a hard time approaching bigger groups. So maybe just make a point of at least, once a week or once every other week, just pick one girlfriend to try that with.
Yeah, that sounds like a good idea.
Because you already know them, let's start with what you have. I mean, eventually I would love for you to branch out and get a little more social and get involved in different activities where you can start practicing with men in a more structured way, like because sometimes if there's events or charity type of events, like there's different things where you can go to where men are going to be where you could practice talking to, but just putting yourself in situations where you're practicing dressing up, working on being more aware and connecting with them and just having a couple conversations. And
Yeah,
that's it.
yeah,
Diane, that's it.
I like that.
I
I,
hear it in your
yeah,
voice too.
I don't think I'll do that. There's only 1 month left before I leave, but when I get back to my hometown, I'm gonna start doing that.
Okay, good. Now, the final thing that I want you working on, and this doesn't have to be with men necessarily, it could be with your girlfriends, it could be with, people you work with, it could be with your family. I want you to start saying no to things you don't want to do and start saying yes to the things you do want to do. I want you to start having your voice. I want you to share with people what you like, what you don't like, and really see who's listening, see who wants to please you for a change. And you can literally do that by just practicing with people that you know. And you can practice doing it with strangers. Like, even if you're like at the valet, allow the guy to open the door for you and say thank you. Allow maybe a guy to buy you a drink at the bar.
Yeah, I would like that.
Like, I love your giggles because I know that, like, when I hear the giggle in your voice, that means it's something you secretly desire and want. It's just, like now it's just giving you permission to do that.
Yeah, well, thank you. That's nice.
Oh my gosh.
All good things.
Good, good. How are you feeling right now?
I'm feeling encouraged and excited, and
Beautiful.
I'm looking forward to going back. I think I'll have better luck going out with my girlfriends up north where I'm
Mhm.
from. My friends that I have now, I love them to pieces. They're older than I am,
Uh-huh.
and they're married, and I think I have a girlfriend up north that is single, and I need to go out with her, and we need to do that, sit at the bar.
Love it. Love it. And it was so beautiful when you said, I feel encouraged, I feel excited. Those are feeling words. It seems like and can identify feelings. I just want you practicing voicing it more.
Yeah, I need to exercise that.
Definitely. And then
It's
eventually translate that to men and even on first dates. So when you do start dating, Diane, I really want you saying what you like and you don't like in the first dates. Oh, I love red wine. Oh, I am not big on sushi, but I love Mexican. Like
Oh, that's
those little
true.
things. Oh, that's so funny.
Yeah, I do love Mexican food and margaritas.
There you go. And dropping those hints to the guys so that they know how to please you. I don't think have ever really done that,
I
especially in the
haven't.
beginning.
You're
Yeah.
right. No, I haven't done it.
So, well, Diane, I'm excited for you. We will all be waiting to hear back how you're doing, full report. Maybe you'll send a picture of you in a red dress walking around somewhere.
Yeah.
I'd love
Okay. I
that.
know. I'm gonna get a red dress. Uh,
Yes, do
I
it.
I don't think I've ever bought a red dress, so it's time to buy a red dress.
Oh my God. And if you do, you're sending me a picture of it and then we'll put it on this podcast so that everyone
Okay.
can see you.
Okay. Sounds like a deal.
Oh, well, Diane, thank you so, so much for sharing.
Oh, you're welcome.
I know you helped so many people today just sharing your story
I hope
because there's
so.
so many people like you who are have a lot of trauma and fear around this stuff, and it takes a lot of courage not only to, like, just be aware and say out loud, but to come on the podcast and share it with others, but that's how I feel like people heal, we're
Yes, you're
all
right.
human, we all need each other, and when you hear somebody else who's going through the same thing, that's how we heal.
We have to talk about it. Don't keep it inside.
Exactly, exactly. Alright, well, thank you so much, Diane.
Well, thank you, Kimmy. I really appreciate all your advice and your kindness.
Oh, well, it's my pleasure. That's why I was excited to have you on. And thank you for joining me today. This has been the Charisma Quotient. I am your host, Kimmy Seltzer. And remember, you can build confidence, make connections, and find love from the outside in. And make sure you go to my site, kimmyseltzer.com. And if fear is getting in the way of putting yourself out there, then click the link you see in the show notes and book a private call with me to help you get past fear, just like I did with Diane, and just take those baby steps towards building that confidence to find the right love for you. And remember, it all starts with you, and working on yourself is working on your dating life. That's all for now.